the Clackmannanshire Council meeting. As usual, we'll run through the protocols this morning, but in addition to the protocol messages that we normally do, which popped up previously, we really was to make us aware of, which is the fire safety information. All this actual assignments, there is a book of pensions to cover claims. This includes pension staff from other buildings. There's two plans of fire evacuation during the land test scheduled for today. The fire alarms activated during the visit. We must exit the building immediately. The committee also will direct you to the nearest fire exit and escort visitors to the building by the assembly point, which is beside the silver man at the top of Parliament Walk. All paid staff will report to their floors assembly point. Should remain at the assembly point until directed to reoccupy the building. Will only re-enter once the fire marshals advise that safety principle. Please do not attempt to leave the site by vehicle until clear to do so by the fire marshal to ensure access routes are kept clear from the incidents. That kind of regular feature from your own colleagues. Also, top of that's the normal protocol, which is to remind us all that it's a public meeting. And maybe members of the public can join us here today or online. The meeting itself will be recorded. Ask that nobody record the meeting in any way, including taking screenshots, and the meeting itself will be published online and Council Park sometime after the meeting. Those of you wishing to speak, the protocol for draw attention to the chairman selected to address the council. Otherwise, we will keep the phone switched off and sit down during the process. Thank you very much. What's the agenda itself? Apologies for Councillor Keogh and Councillor Martin this morning. Apologies. Declaration of interest. With any? Nope. Okay, so first agenda item on Swan's meeting is the minutes from our meeting on Thursday, 23rd of March. There's other than the 300 page, there's a page for the item piece of the raise, we just pay attention to it. Page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, 11, page 12, 13, page 14, page 15, page 16. Happy to take through those minutes. Yeah. Thank you. The basic of paper this one is item 4, which is report. And what oh yeah, so that. Item 4, the local police plan. Manager. What's your?
We have a spot block of this.
Sure.
And the agenda has the paper up for approval. Now, my understanding is that Council to review strategic cooperation responsibility for Police Scotland or any of the local divisions. Now, ordinarily, the text that we would apply to a paper such as this can be amended. I don't think we can amend it. I don't think we can amend these topics. If we can't amend it, then I don't think we should approve it. We should be moving it. So it's just something that the models, I'm aware of the fact is being.
Perhaps if they're federal legislation, but it's my understanding that the local authority must approve the local policing and fire plans as per the Police and Fire Reform Act 2012.
Okay, thanks for that.
I'm going to get with it this morning, so I can do something. Local policing plan for Clackmannanshire is a statute requirement as per the Police and Fire Reform Scotland Act 2012. The plan recommended today for council today is for the period 23-26. And Convener, if I could invite the Superintendent to provide further context on that one.
Good morning, everyone. For those of you that don't know, I'm Brad Blair. and I'm the new plan for the Valley vision. Compared to small ones, the support will be to see plan for 23 to 20 minutes for the Clackmannanshire council area. The background in the statutory framework in relation to the plan has been covered, and I'm grateful certainly for the council having approved the previous plan. We're seeing the forward that you have seen from the reporting reports and scrutiny over the previous 2 years that a lot of progress was made in relation to the last plan. But like many of our plans, it's quite clearly buffeted by the unprecedented unforeseen impact of the COVID pandemic. So it's good to be back to the person, it's good to be the establishment plan, having moved hopefully beyond that and getting back to core business. You'll see, I suppose first I'm grateful to those that are engaged in consultation with the plan. The plan's developed in broad consultation with partners, the public, and the kind of detail is set out in the kind of the parts of that plan. But it aligns to our national priorities and it aligns to Scottish Government, national outcomes, strategic priorities. But fundamentally, it's based on the feedback from our local community and what matters for them. You'll see within that itself, the local teaching bodies of Clackmannanshire are protecting people also at risk from harm, being responsive to the concerns of communities, it's road safety and road time, it's enhancing our collective resilience to the urgent threats, and really important, promoting confidence through our actions. As I say, those priorities are aligned to national strategic priorities. And I'm trying to itself to see that under each of them, we set out areas of focus. And I don't tend to go through each of them in detail, but within each area of focus, you see a number of themes and thematic areas where we're going to focus on. And it'll be those themes and areas that will continue to report through our post scrutiny. And we will keep them under review and continue to ensure that they're relevant to the challenges that we face with the near period of this plan. I've spoken about consultation and sharing data to those that are engaged in even up and including into the last development of this meeting. So it's really good that people are engaged in that, so important that people are engaged in that. And throughout the life of this plan, we continue through our reputation surveys, through our scrutiny, through our services, so that we members to make sure we're alive to the feedback and concerns and what was as we move through and increase the community of Clackmannanshire over the period of this plan. I linked closely to outcomes, reflection on improvement plans, and you see specifically, I think, some not just key still under there, that I think that have the eyes of a little performance of the heart, their eyes towards the whatever they are approaching supporting vulnerable people through the process. That's been picked up and been looked at by another my division of planning college and transport and local employed here. And something again that I'm really proud of. And then a real focus in relation to responding to the concern of communities is an approach to tackle that social behaviour, and we're going to help over this plan to the new and refreshed answer to behaviour strategy, so that we have a really shared focus and an approach to that, which is clearly a key concern for our community. So I'm conscious members will have been through the plan in detail, and I'm happy to question going on to that, and they will be interested to.
Thanks, Councillor Dawson.
Thanks for the introduction, Barry. Certainly welcome to chats with authority and probably your predecessor around the plan and the priorities for Clackmannanshire. The only question I really had there, because I'm fairly comfortable with the plan there, is there's mention made about it aligning with the plans, and obviously they're agreed by all partners, police, council, health, etc. We're about to go through a white refresh. And I'm just wondering, should the white refresh bring out anything that's not covered within the plan? Is there any scope to make changes to make sure that the priorities continue to align?
So yes, and see that we'll keep this plan, we'll review, we'll refresh it, we'll probably refresh it annually, certainly where it is. I suppose the hope is with qualification we've done around about it, and what matters most in the practice, we hope that there won't be any things that jump out of left field. But it's also, for example, that's a huge thing that you know, much better starts with the things that one state does, and I've seen the importance of it.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you. Good morning. It's an extremely good comforting plan for listeners, different. Okay. There's a lot, not a lot you have to cover. But they can improve the plan, they can run the resource. What concerns do you have that you not have the resources to carry out everything that you intend to do?
So organisationally, once we become really clear that the budget settlement will go to charge for the organisation, and as a result of that, we are losing a number of the budget establishments. So the sector that they've been on the students before is no longer the establishment organisational matter, and a close profile that we will get impacted by it. What I'm doing now, and the context of that plan is making sure that my division will be as much respond as effective and efficient as it can be. That will mean we need to prioritise, so we've already, sort of colleagues have said here, budget scale for me, there's also a for me, as we are changing to prioritise and resources for the manager, people like this plan. But clearly, as I said, the chief budget program very talk is going to clear that to develop this thing, to develop the technology, we feel that we need to do that effectively, to make the state our feet as effective and efficient as can be. We don't think that where we will additional funds, but I think all of the public service levels in education and that so we will be very basic of those and the colleagues will plan reflect that budget statement.
Thank you. Indicated it doesn't actually, no, it's administrative, prioritise all the data elements in the plan. Is that something you'd have to come back to us with if you have resource constraint, make some of the plan unachievable?
So the things set in the plan are totally prioritized. So there are a number of number of key themes against which we're providing reporting and a number of themes under that. But other than that plan, we will work for a course of periods of Clackmannanshire over the next 2 years. There's nothing within that plan having to expect currently. What I know about what happened, everything will be delivered on. If that were to be the case, we through scrutiny through the refresh the plan, of course I need to come back and we would come back and say actually here's what we expect to deliver on and here's what we're struggling to deliver on. But with what I have and what I know now, the colleagues that set here, the activities that are outlined in this plan are what I would expect my teams to deliver on.
Yes.
Thank you, Councillor.
Very much, Chair. I was really encouraged to see in the plan so much focus on involving people and I thought that was excellent. And I just wondered, I noticed you mentioned a training programme for the officers, and I just wondered what sort of specialist training would be, because many of the people who have been through the SHIVE programme or other activities are actually victims of trauma, and I just wondered what sort of specialised training there would be in place.
So, what's the scope of vulnerability is a number of different training programs, with right from the core response specialist officers and the street training will vary in relation to that. But interestingly, at manager itself, we've actually rolled out trauma training to all of the staff here, and we're currently evaluating that with a view to rolling back some of it to the rest of the division and again more than that for its potential to roll out physical Scotland. All and forms teaching to on practice is hugely important. And I'd say that the training of already in the manager is currently subject to evaluation and we need to roll it out. So it's hugely important.
Thanks very much, that's excellent. I was just wondering as well, what was going to be put in place for officers in terms of vicarious trauma, burnout, support, because obviously working in that field is really challenging.
Yeah, hugely so, and it's a key point you'll see there in terms of protecting our own staff. That is an absolute project for me. We already have a number of a range of measures in place with employee assistance programs, where our involvement specifically and obviously traumatic incidents that immediately offered a trauma counselling, which is an invaluable tool, but even around people that perform roles are offered a field of psychological assessment support, employees who they used to be bespoke to particular roles, like public protection roles, and now being able to call staff to be able to work.
I'm quite really encouraging to see you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Allison.
Morning, I'd like to echo the positivity there of the really good report, but there's a couple of things stood out for me. There was the response to the concerns of the communities, and one of the most important things was traffic related offences. And then we want to say on road safety and road planning that we target speeding in real locations, and part of that would be based on intelligence. So I represent Muckert, Dollar and Clackmannan, and every time I go to a community council meeting, speeding is brought up. And we have been in talks with the road traffic and department about getting the camera set up. So if it's based on intelligence, when it comes up every meeting, there's intelligence there that we are seeing a lot of speeding traffic through these areas. I see the camera set up in the same areas time after time. Corner of Canvas, in between Fish Cross and Socky. It's always there. I think we need to be targeting areas where communities are still moving the speeding traffic coming through them.
So there's a process for establishing fixed sites for the camera safety vehicle. They're all doing it, and the sites you see repeatedly are based on accident collisions and various where people are subject to injury or otherwise in relation to incidents such as that. Where there are specific community elements, the Audis community team will respond to that. We can go out with handheld devices and such like and monitor that. But the placement of either static cameras, there's a highway partnership input to that, and the position of the road safety camera vehicles based on that kind of triage and all that of we were finding instances of speeding, we were seeing cousins and it's in relation to the results that they had, we were seeing injury and buildings and such like.
Thanks for that. It almost feels like we're waiting for an accident to happen before we put the camera in place, because
Somebody used to ask questions.
sorry, I'm just, I'll get to it. So the question is, do we wait for an accident to happen and then that adds to the list, or do we then go on intelligence? I think that the fact that the communities are every single, and I've got councillors that are in the same area, every time we go to a meeting, we talk about the speeding in areas. If we're talking about through intelligence, it can't just be that we put a couple of strips up and we'll monitor that for a week. These people live in the community, so I think the intelligence needs to be that they are seeing it day after day after day.
This was in that. Yes.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. So prevention is key. So prevention is key. I'm not effectively doing actions happen. I know you know that. But that hearing, so community feedback is fundamentally important. But there are then measures through which we put in place. It means to monitor and restrictions to keep out to one with the my staff as it becomes another. In the round, there's areas where we need traffic calming. There's different measures that can be deployed. But all of that needs to come together for what is a final resource in terms of the safety calendar people. So it does require that tiered approach to where we do that in terms of where the support requirement. But I absolutely get concerned with communities, but they are responded to locally, as best as they can by the community teams where they're not there's especially for the site of the camera safety level.
Councillor Coffey.
Thanks, yeah, I think the seats have been so that's the broadest number of the council points or questions as much as the plan is excellent and it's welcome with regard to the police and numbers actually going implement that because I hear time time again to the community officers in my ward have often been working on response. I'm aware that professionals leaving the Scottish Police College have asked to be posted to what would have been the old legacy in Scotland, there will be told of no vacancies. And that's my question is really going to be what actions are to resolve that. But I think you gave Councillor Poyner fairly comprehensive answer that in terms of how it's being looked at nationally by the two consuls. So yeah, it's usually I'm quite happy with this with Councillor. I don't think the answer for it.
Thank you, Councillor Lee. Thanks, Chair. Just for Councillor Harrison to say, there's not a plan previously in place for COVID to train the community groups who use cameras and then government letters being issued to those employees. It was floated, it was quite a good buy-in for certain community groups, and that was a help.
tackle these other areas that the police can't really get to or struggle to pick it up and to be one of the better communities. That was something that was discussed in 2018-19, but if that's something that's still circulating as a potential plan.
So I'm not aware of it, if I'm being honest, and I get the premise behind it, but wrapped into that, I think would be a number of issues in relation to GDPR, ability to access registration and stuff like that. So I think we do, and we spoke about scrutiny is like our junior traffic wardens and our junior marshals, but that's done in conjunction with the teams. So we have, for example, in the school community, we bring maybe pupils from the schools and they support us staff to do that with activities, for validation, like with learning and education. But that's fundamentally important because it's attitudinal, it's how we modify the behaviour, and it's more often not the parents of the children that are coming to school and responsible for the damage to be provided and management department and some students who actually, I think, I'm not aware of that, except I can actually look at, I'm not 100% sure that there would be something we would be able to do, the wider context, how we're doing something in partnership around with education, which is key, I'm absolutely supportive of.
Thank you. And just one more question again, because I'm probably touched on it, but local policing, how integral are officers on the beat to this plan? Because I'm aware since COVID, a role in that and reallocation of resources from community officers out engaging in intervention, prevention, particularly with youth and others in particular. The positive impact, and I'm aware that that's seems to be receding, and there seems to be a rise now in antisocial behaviour, petty from the same youths that were previously being engaged by our community officers. So just looking for a bit of reassurance that this is the actual officers of the beat still integral to this.
So I can absolutely give you that reassurance. They are integral, but they're part of our wider suite of resources. We need more than just the officers that are deployed in this building to deployed in this plan. And we draw on national resources, national support, and it is the full gamut of Police Scotland that comes to the order of projects with. Probably just a couple of points. So if we're talking about since COVID, actually the opposite of what you said is true, that there was a rollback from community policing to fill that core emergency response because we were covered with sort of high degree of absence and stuff like that. So there was an absolute need during that period to protect our emergency response. That had dissipated, so we have more flexibility now and have been able to ensure as best as we can that the community officers who are vital to a lot of stuff in this plan. I absolutely agree with that. That they are now able to spend more time in the communities doing stuff that they're describing. So certainly since COVID, we're sort of to reverse that thing and make sure they are able to fulfill the up to the communities. Throughout this, the resources, as I'm sure that total authority continue to be tight. So there will be occasions where there will be attractions for events for emergency response and such like. But having community officers in the communities doing that function that you're describing is a product for me, and that was my absolute support.
Thank you, Councillor Holt.
Thanks. When I started the chief of the page 6 of the plan, page 36 to the report. So I think it's the section which has been very trying to do a plan of the marsh, and it talks about two things in the context of the move to Kilmacregs. Talks about the kind of the improvements, the development partnerships and stuff like that. I think that's a given, and I know the works to make me strive. It'd be quite hard if a possible issue someone who got put next door and leave it there. So that's a good thing. But I want to draw your attention to the parts on the maximising visibility. Now, I'm going to make no bones about this. This is a route recommend. I live in Alba. That police station is not more visible than the previous one was. And that's not to say that that in itself is the most important thing, but it's not. It's simply as the other one is right in the middle of it. You can see it, all the major station. That's my lie. What I mean is that when you drive in the hour, you come to the police station just now, both the eastern approach and western approach, there's absolutely no signage at all for that building. If you did not know that it was there, if you were not from Alba, for instance, or perhaps some of the surrounding towns, it's a great difficult when actually locating that office. You then come in, and you've got two A3 signs which are printed on paper, posted on the windows. I know you know where I'm going is, and I'm not trying to be awkward about it. The simple fact is though, you've got a door as well that's got a plastic thing which is often open, which means you can't see the print on that. Only thing which gives it away is what the older guys that used to call the Dyson, which is on the bumper of the building. That's the only thing that tells you it's got less silence than the door. So the claim that it's maximising visibility, I think it's a serious one. I don't think it's actually my question to you, and I have got a question. Have you got any plans to introduce signage out the front and then above the next to the building? No standing the fact that it's a low building resident. And I just say it, the council didn't go off the vehicle describing because they don't have any sign, one sign at the front and the letter, nothing to the back. And I know that. And I see that. But the council has less need than I think in these circumstances because visibility is a very important aspect of policing. And you really need to, the access to you need to know everywhere.
So finally, to agree with have got started, so I'm from football last year. I started teaching when I came back in January to over what was over was new was. I made that very same reflection. I know we don't know, that's fine. We don't put signs up in isolation clearly, but Audrey knows and Audrey's working to make sure that just that part of the point they're doing is addressed. I'm going to agree with what Audrey's speaking out there, as you know. Visibility is not about just about it's how we deploy it's how we get back to the communities and stuff like that. So the spending of a building and to agree with the point that's not the visible audience talking about, it's more around how we make sure the office back and can how we make sure that where they need to be, but in and around the whole ethos of being visible is a huge important one in this area. I agree with you that we're working to recognise quickly as we can.
Thanks, Gideos. Thank you for that response. The only problem with that, of course, and I agree absolutely with the the order of action does specifically link in the location and movement that building with visibility. That's the problem. So that's the reason I raised the question because it specifically links the two issues. One, we're moving the building, two, is maximising visibility. So it would do if we could obviously both the council and the police communicate together, perhaps even some proper common sense.
Councillor Corbett, back in, you've already done some injury, just got too much.
The other meetings is we're actually in discussions with the police in relation to the signage at the front, and I think we're just doing specs just now, and there will be new signage put up, so just to let you know that, that's some comfort.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Corbett.
I think it could be there. First thing to say is we were working on board to me, and I went to make it here. Can I speak to the next one, little there or two? Thanks very much. Okay, how to do that? Main question concerns the notion that the road to crime begins at a very, very early age, and therefore your engagement with children and youngsters is very important. And as they become older, they need to have a perception of the police which is helpful to the police rather than the stereotype of victims or negative things. How do you engage, and at what stage do you engage with very young children to persuade them that police are not bears, that they are human beings like themselves? Can you soften the edge of the police when you visit finding money through the fee? And do you have an active program for engaging with children who enable them to grow up with a helpful perception of the police so that when they're older, they perceive them as a community benefit rather than limitation?
Thanks for that. Thanks, the apologies for that. Absolutely. So through connections, there's still waste officers. Everything you say there in terms of the role, perception, the ability to communicate is fundamental to policing, and that attitude of that is a key element of what we have to also do when we're stories technically, and I view that in action. Right through education is fundamentally important. Again, through education, through parents, through yourselves, that message in terms of what policing is here to do, what policing is here to support. I think we've all got responsibility for that message. It's a hard message sometimes for us individually to sell, whereas there's not necessarily the message we're getting home, or not necessarily getting anything else, but But it's probably more important now, we spoke about visibility, but it's actually, it's not so visibility for these not just real jackets on the street, it's actually more visible. And, you know, in the thought process when they're online, you know, it's actually keeping themselves safe and that type of thing. So being part of that education programme is important, but having that built in, and as it is, you know, like we work with the post education, having that done in the round and partnerships, it's hugely, you know, particularly as children and actually, and it's only quite much aware of it back to, we don't dispute the community feelings, but the actual numbers of reports around actions where you're down. So the report coming in around that's down. How it manifests and stuff like that is quite a wide discussion, but a lot of the activities that are done peer-to-peer through social networks, through social media and stuff like that. So the most important place to do that is at the early ages in school through education.
Thank you. Okay, no further questions on that. Thank you very much for having me. Move on now to the paper itself. That's Councillor Wilson.
I'm happy to move the paper that can be done. As has been stated, the paper on the plan outlines East Scotland's priorities for Clackmannanshire, which are aligned with the proposals agreed by the CPP, and I welcome the assurances that should those priorities change, there is the opportunity to revisit this plan. Also note the comments in the report that like all public sector organisations, including the Council, Scotland are facing pressure on their services as a result of the vulnerabilities and inequalities that exist in our communities, and that is certainly the case here in Clackmannanshire, and we know that uses a significant amount of resources. And that's why I feel that it's very important to work together in partnership, and a great example of that has been Stride, and I think has been just recognised by Barry there. It's been nationally recognised, and other areas throughout Scotland are looking at that model for their rollout. I also welcome the focus on antisocial behaviour, which we know as a council from recent budget engagements and feedback from our communities is a priority for local people. And while instances of reports may be, kind of down, I think there is still the feeling and perception by our communities out there that there are issues. So I'm looking forward to working together to refresh Clackmannshire's antisocial behaviour strategy, which is going to set our joint plans for tackling this variant. I'm sure colleagues are at the table.
Thanks, Chair. I'd like to thank Police Scotland for this extensive report. I'm especially heartened by Police Scotland's involvement with Strive, as this is having such a positive effect. Council Leader and I had a meeting with the area commander for Clackmannanshire to discuss concerns we had around specific aspects of the report. Following that, we've reached an agreed position, especially around how we deal with antisocial behaviour, as the Council Leader has just touched on. I know that antisocial behaviour is especially problematic, and that the effects of this behaviour takes an incredible toll on many of our residents who just want to be able to have a bit of peace in their life. So a partnership approach to tackling antisocial behaviour is long overdue, and the offer from Police Scotland to use that approach is very welcome. Happy to second the paper, Chair.
Thank you for that. So the paper's up for debate. Councillor Holden.
Thanks, Convener. Just to say that, this is a good report, and we obviously say that every time a report comes up, somebody starts to offer saying this is a good report, but actually it's a good report. And it's actually better than a lot of the reports because it's easy to read. It's easy, it takes you through, and I found it actually quite a useful document. I would say that I still stand by my original thoughts on it, that it's inappropriate to approve documents when you don't have any control. You can't change the document. That's it's my personal opinion. This is something to my control and stewards and I do. So I do obviously welcome the plan. I think the range of support, the range of priorities, recognise that these have been developed through the process of strategic assessment and feedback from police partners. Activities. And also welcome those learners and families set with the process to support vulnerable people. Support most of sexual crimes, tackling ministry receiving victims, tackling antisocial behaviour, drug and alcohol use, preventing and investigating violence of crime, and that's most importantly protecting these point of crime, protecting children and young people. The one comment I'm going to make in relation to plans, I think the work of the police will be very more difficult. There's been a long history of disinvestment in new services, and all people thought this was policy for a long period of time. Community development areas, holiday posts, individual service, always one that's been easiest to hit. But perhaps arguably the one that has the biggest impact on it is hit. I think also there's been a restructure in Clackmannanshire recently in relation to new services. And it's not what my understanding was it was going to be. And I think that's reduced capacity. So all of that, I think, increases the pressure and the reliance on the police to engage with people to divert them away from the thing. And also the reliance on the third sector partners as well, many people have operating as we previously with the products to the body. Also welcome the approach to working with drivers for constant driver and good user behaviour. I have been quite critical with the police in this area in the past, but I recognise the work that's been put into the schools. There's no point in running with something people do something about it and don't acknowledge it. So I do acknowledge the fact that we're working on that. I acknowledge also and keep for some reason people on Operation Petticoats, Operation Peacock, I think it is. But anyway, I think that was actually a very useful thing. It didn't make for any popularity for me locally, but I'm not worried about that. And I think actually that operation is something I think should be visited on a more regular basis, because it's only really effective if you keep doing it. And then it acts as a disincentive for people to get into these sort of bad behaviours. I'd also like to comment on the work of the Clackmannanshire Scrutiny Plan, and I certainly comment on it. I would like to comment if I can, because I don't really know anything about what it does. And I think that's unfortunate. And because I'm sure it does do good things, but it's too far something not high enough. And it should be that's the mechanism by which the public can assess how the local elected representatives are holding police to account. So it's important both from a police perspective and from a Clackmannanshire Council perspective. Having said all of that, I can note the report. And I know the members will be approving the report, no doubt, but I think it's a good report and I welcome it. And I just hope that we can take some of the lessons forward in terms of Operation Peacock, and I can say that, and also the visibility involved as well, which is really useful. So I'm glad to do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Bowden. Councillor Denny, followed by Councillor Bowden.
Yeah, I thought this was an excellent report. When I read through it, I was really excited to see the level of partnership with third sector agencies within it, which I thought was absolutely excellent. And I was very grateful to be one of the third sector agencies before I came into council who was actively involved in Strive, and it was an absolutely excellent initiative. I'm really glad to see that moving forward as well as it is, but looking as well at the partnerships obviously in the field of domestic abuse, of trauma, and also looking at internet safety, which was also really important and something I felt really strongly about. I think for victims to feel comfortable to come forward is really important, and I hope moving forward that we align ourselves with the new trauma-informed justice knowledge and skills framework for working with victims and witnesses that's recently been launched by the Scottish Government. And I think that's going to be a really important way forward to make sure that victims feel safe and that they have a trauma-informed approach to when they report crimes. So, but I think the report really is probably open to reading through the report. I can see that you'd be open to things like that, and I'm really happy to approve the report because I think it's going in the right direction. So thank you.
Councillor Denny. Thank you, Chair. First, the Councillor Bowden brought up a very interesting point about sameness. This is an issue that I have personally raised in Clinton players in the past, and they told it's in hand, it's been dealt with. I'm glad to hear from Lee that there are going to be issues. They should be taken forward on sameness so people do know where the building is. Chief Superintendent talked about antisocial behaviour and incidents of antisocial behaviour. Well, on Tuesday night, there's a happening about a meeting in our academy, and I came back from that. I noticed the blue flag and boots flying past, and it was kids in a high street in Alloa, fearing visitors off the building next door, throwing them down onto the other side. As I got there, the police started the tiles. I spoke to an officer in Boston yesterday. There seems to be
it's something that's happening all the time. But one of the biggest problems that I have in that area is the private owner of the property not taking responsibility for securing the property and making it more difficult. However, to back to the report, it's been at the licensing board. I can confirm that the licensed premises in Clackmannanshire, they have adhered to the licensed Scotland Act and are safe and well regulated. But she made reference to breach the aforementioned act. There is a mechanism in place to deal with this, and the board and its members will not be free to take the appropriate action. A report recently in the Bureau of Ethics stated that an area for Clackmannanshire was in the top 10 areas for violent crime in Scotland. That's a stat that we don't want, and we mustn't let this continue. The well supported to tackle the scourge of drugs, and more importantly, the supply of drugs. We must never forget that the drug users are also victims of their own addictions. And I do world who will be able to turn off the tap of drugs. But while there are billions to be made when the supply of drugs worldwide, will continue to be these people who become addicted and their families will then become the innocent victims. I believe that police will jail tolerance policy, the supply of drugs and communities, which will defeat suppliers. The community must be the eyes and the ears of the police. And they must report any incidents that they are not supplying to the police as soon as they possibly can. The report is an excellent report. It can be enhanced by the contribution of the general public to make the job of the police a lot easier, and if you make the community that the same. Thank you.
Yes, thanks for that. Saying the rest to Councillor Cotton.
Yes, thanks, but the report itself very well constructed, as has been mentioned before. It's simply written, easy to understand, and I think it should be recommended for that alone. I also think that it would be useful. The report exists, and it's said, and the bishop is nice to use that in the publicity going forward to the elements of that and cycle this through the community so that people get onto the kind of thing that the police are up to, which is specifying to the public thing. If you can take that report and have it fixed in digestible chunks. So an excellent report, well done. Thank you. Thank you. And
Nick, thank you. Councillor Cotton.
Thanks, again. Just to go back to the part of the fact that police want to have an anti-social behaviour. It's obviously one thing that's been spoken about, and it's encouraging you potentially to councillor Taggart talk about it in a meeting with the Clackmannanshire area commander. It was something that again was addressed to the Clackmannanshire area commander at a licensing board meeting last year when they presented their report to licensing board, and that was of the nature of antisocial behaviour in terms of consuming alcohol in a public place. And admittedly, I think the chief inspector and the licensing sergeant at the time acknowledged the sort of poor detection rate of police over the previous 12 months for that offence, and there was quite a kind of lengthy debate in the meeting at that point. So I'll be interested when they present their next meeting to the licensing board in terms of the stuff that's been handled around antisocial behaviour for that specific aspect of antisocial behaviour. If the police have improved their protection of it and the effectively we have so many members of the licensing board and the licensing standards officer themselves as to how that type of antisocial behaviour impacts on their life and the well-being of the people in a specific area of Alloa in particular. It should be very easy to detect the offence. So I hope that the plans that are in place for tackling antisocial behaviour look at all aspects of this, and this in particular because of the very nature of antisocial behaviour, the people who are perpetrating it, what their impact is on other people in the local vicinity. It's quite severe, it's very intimidating. So I'm very interested to see how what improvements are made in that regard. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Holmes, you want to so? Yes, sir. Okay, so notwithstanding Councillor Holmes, because Yes, that's compared to recommend approval of the. The item five, actually, the election rules, the member that can use the outside borders. Or will change the rules. Please, can I take some paper?
Good morning, everyone. So the report for council is as a result of the resignation and appointment to the various roles and outside board positions following the changes made to the Labour Group. At the Labour Group AGM on the 4th of April 2023, Councillor Earl and Councillor Martin stepped down in their positions as leader and deputy leader of the Labour Group. The report asks council to note from the 4th of April, following these decisions, that Councillor Janine Rennie has been appointed as leader of the Labour Group and Councillor Mark McLaughlin has been appointed as deputy leader of the Labour Group. Ask the council to note that Councillor Janine Rennie, in her role as leader of the opposition, replaces Councillor Earl as chair of the Audit and Scrutiny Committee with effect from 4th April. Councillor Janine Rennie, in her role as chair of the Audit and Scrutiny Committee, is awarded a special responsibility allowance with effect again as 4th April. Notes that Councillor Rennie was an existing member of the Audit and Scrutiny Committee, and Councillor Earl has indicated that he will remain an ordinary member of the committee, therefore no appointments are required. Appoints Councillor Janine Rennie in her role as leader of the Labour Group to replace Councillor Earl as the member of the Stirling and Clackmannanshire City Region Joint Committee, with Councillor Earl replacing Councillor Rennie as a substitute member. And notes that Councillor Rennie, in her role as leader of the Labour Group, replaces Councillor Earl as a member of the Clackmannanshire Alliance. And finally notes that Councillor Janine Rennie, in her role as leader of the Labour Group, replaces Councillor Kenneth Earl as the member of the COSLA Convention. Happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Lee. Do you have any questions? Yep. You have something to vote in favor? Councillor Campbell? Yeah, I'll make a favor. Just one more move. Okay, thank you. Got a second there?
Yes, obviously.
You wish to debate the paper? On that basis, we have to approve. Oh, sorry. Yes, okay.
Thanks for that. Just a quick question. It's about the change with the city deal. Councillor Earl's been in the city deal for a good few years, and I'm just hoping that that the new leader will actually have been notified of everything that's happened in the past, because it's a big thing just to go in and not know anything about what's happened in the past, not been on the city deal prior.
Thanks, Councillor. I'm actually quite glad for the first time. It's not a question, we passed the question stage, we've got a statement.
I just
Councillor.
confirm to commend Nikki that she's been great at giving me masses of information to do some homework to learn on that. So thanks to Nikki for that.
Okay, thanks for that. Nobody else? Happy to approve the paper? Congratulations to Keenan and you. Item 6, need a feature update for.
Thank you, Convener. Good morning, councillors. So this is the regular meeting feature update report that's presented to council to sustain our oversight of the significant transformation work that's planned or already in delivery. This paper also provides the basis for any council governance that's required to take forward our further innovations. This paper particularly marks the start of a new phase of our transformation work, and as a consequence, the paper summarises some of the key progress and achievements to date, which hopefully assist council in keeping abreast of the significant work either completed or underway. Notable highlights include the significant progress being made in terms of social and place-based innovation and new models of delivery, for which was receiving significant external interest and profile, as well as leveraging additional resource and expertise benefits. The paper also documents how the way in which we resource and support the delivery of the future plan has evolved. In the recent budget process, significant resource has been agreed to support different elements of work that contribute to the delivery of the Being Future plan. Importantly, the paper describes how we are transitioning to a hybrid resourcing model, which comprises a blend of permanent, fixed-term and secondment-type supports to better reflect our needs, learning and experience today. Excuse me. The report also sets out work that is progressing under the digital and data transformation strand related to the implementation of the Council's approved target operating model. The paper highlights work underway to transform the way customers, residents, service users and partners engage and will be able to engage with the Council. More detailed briefing on the specific developments will be provided to elected members ahead of the summer recess as this work progresses. Section 7 of the report proposes a change to the Council strategic planning framework to reflect the significant emphasis on collaborative working, the consensus and strong evidence base reflected in partnership work to develop our wellbeing common law and the implementation of the Council's target operating model. Paragraph 7.6 sets out the proposal subject to the satisfactory completion of preparatory work and engagement with the Council's external auditors. Finally, the paper sets out a high-level approach to develop phase 1 target operating model implementation plans. And that's what I'm asking to say, actually. Subject to Council's endorsement of the approach, it is anticipated that further detail will be submitted to Council in the June meeting. I do appreciate that the paper contains quite a lot of detail, but hope that it is a useful stocktake of progress to date alongside our next steps. The paper covers a wide range of innovations, and I'm happy to respond to questions where I can or bring in colleagues to assist. Thank you. Happy to take any questions.
Thanks. Any questions, Councillor Clyde?
Thank you, Convener. Nikki, on page 66, item 4.5, reference to the Discovery Fund, the last sentence, this fund has not been used extensively to date, but demand is anticipated. Why do you think it hasn't been taken up? I know, is there something wrong with the people that are, does it need to be done?
I think it's been a bit of a reflection of the aging stage that we're at in terms of our development. So we've got more things down the pipeline that are coming forward that we potentially need to access that fund as we start to look in that, we start to develop out that early feasibility work. I think prior to that, it was gathering the ideas, so they probably weren't at the stage that they needed that input.
Yes, thanks, Councillor Hawking.
Thanks, if appendix group page 79, paragraph 1.16, making reference to single point of accountability. The paragraph says single points of accountability and the depth of organisational capability that can find some impact ability to deliver at pace. This expected to require, just in terms of thinking of the business continuity and ability to deliver, is there any action being taken to try and address single points of accountability with that is scope to improve it? Thank you.
Yeah, it's something that is constantly a challenge for us. So we constantly look at that, trying to make sure that we've always got cover, to be able to backfill those responsibilities. But in a small system like ours, it is inevitable that we'll have those single points of reliance. So we do try to make sure that we've always got backup plans in terms of cover. But I think it's something that we're going to continue to have to work at. We're certainly not going to suddenly get lots of extra resources to allow us to be able to make the teams again.
Okay, no, Councillor.
Yeah, just briefly.
6.4 indicates customer services call. For which customer services call includes the reception and home base.
Can I ask if Stuart wants to comment on that, please? Stuart's taking this work forward, thanks.
Thanks, Councillor. Not as such, customer services hub is actually a piece of software that will help us move from a lot of the databases that we have on IBM Notes and move them on to other platforms. There are wider elements of that customer services hub, which is very much focused on customer services and how we shift and automate and try and get that more kind of Amazon experience for customers. So when they're booking something or when they're when we're ordering something or reporting something, they get automated responses and then they can go in and check and get updates, that kind of. So that's the kind of elements that we're looking. That's what the kind of capability that customer service will give us. In addition to that, one of the things that we've identified we don't have at the moment, if you're working in the contact centre and you've got 30 databases, you may have to go in and check and deal with. So what this customer services hub is going to give one portal of whether you're working in a customer, a community access point, or whether you're in the reception, or whether you're in the contact centre. There's going to be one portal that will be able to put it in there and actually check the update on that. So it is going to significantly improve customer service, and it really is. I mean, it's actually quite exciting, the customer services hub, and I will be doing a briefing for all members on that. So I think it really has got the potential to revolutionise. On the reception, it's a different matter, but a complimentary matter. So yeah, I have got plans. We are going to reopen the reception. We have to recruit a couple of receptionists, and that's coming forward. I have got some difficulties at the moment in terms of timing around the works on the roof that we're doing. So we've got a lot of scaffolding and cranes and whatnot. So I think on balance, I haven't quite finalised this year, but I think on balance, we may do something. I think it would probably be better to fully open the reception once on the completion of those works and not have customers having to navigate what's scaffolding and all sorts of other things. I'm not quite sure it's going to be in place, but I know it's going to be a bit of a challenge, and we're still working through that at the moment.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Benny.
Yeah, thanks for that. That was exactly what I was going to ask, and the answers were very inclusive, so I have nothing else to add. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Curry.
Thank you. Nikki, page 59, 7.6, the proposed effort council on the London as a corporate plan in that section. If we held the corporate plan up on one hand and the light on the other, what differences would we see?
You just happened across exactly the dilemma that we face. So the core is essentially the same. And the differences that happen because of slightly different timescales are a lot around language. I mean, the corporate plan is our actions in terms of the delivery of the like objectives. But what actually caused us to come forward was I was thinking, how do you get the language and everything just to be seamless? So then it led me to the point of thinking, do we actually need two separate documents? And essentially, we're all working in the same direction. It does mean a little bit of, back of house tagging up we need to do to be able to achieve that. But I think rather than having lots of separate strategies, the more we can do to integrate, as we have done with all the transformation work so far, it just seemed like it was in exactly the same innovation space as the broader program we've been taking forward.
Okay, so there was no more questions. Last councillor questions will be taken.
Yeah, I'm happy to move the paper. Like the Chief Executive, as in case leader, I'm living, breathing, and unfortunately dreaming about the transformation programme. And actually, hearing Nicky's introduction there, we're probably going to cover a lot of the same things, and that wasn't planned at all. So it's actually reassuring to know that we're on the same page with a lot of this stuff. So obviously the paper outlines the latest update on the Future programme, and it's detailing the significant ongoing work in the council's transformation journey in areas such as the wellbeing economy, community wealth building, the transformation zones and the city region deal. And it also outlines the continuing work on the family wellbeing partnership, which is particularly focused on reducing child poverty, and that's a real focus for us here in Clackmannanshire Council, but also our partners across the community planning partnership. And work like this is really, it's enabled us to partner with organising folks like the Lens to really empower communities. And there's a paper later, I think it's next actually, which outlines this. But it's also crucially put Clackmannanshire at the forefront of national policy development on areas such as tackling poverty, and that's something that I think we need to recognise here. One of the areas I feel deserves a particular mention is the vast amount of work that Stuart and his team have been doing on the digital and data transformation. The outcome of this work has already been said will not only transform service delivery, but create better customer service experiences for all of our residents. And I think that's something that we really strive for here at Clackmannanshire Council. And as Nicky had said, there's going to be a members' briefing in the near future on some of that work. And those of you who have taken part in the work with Columba 1400 will know that there was a reached agreement about reducing duplication and bureaucracy. So I think one of the areas that the report covers is how we can streamline our reporting requirements. And I think the report sets out how using the LOIC we can do this. The LOIC's a driver for all public service delivery for organisations in Clackmannanshire, and we've already seen that with the police plan. So I think we can achieve this and deliver effective service business plans within the council, whilst doing that much needed streamlining that I think everybody agreed was necessary. But there's a lot of good work going on in this, as was alluded to, the paper is fairly lengthy. So I'm happy to propose on that basis and look forward to hearing the comments from across the chamber.
Okay, thanks for that. Councillor Murphy, second.
Thanks, Convener. Yeah, and just to build on what Councillor Pearson and the Chief Executive have already commented on it, I think for me, a couple of things that I would know, and as I say, to be process is that effective partnership work that is critical to this and that we're seeing deliver, not just from a financial point of view, which is part of it, but most importantly from a service delivery perspective. The partnership alignment element and that leveraging for me are absolutely critical. And I think obviously we've spoken at length about the family wellbeing partnership, the partnerships now that we have, the ingrained partnerships that we have within the local authority, and obviously striving on the success that we're seeing with that. But obviously, in addition to that, the leveraging of external resources, not least the current project around the Wellbeing Hub, partnership with Sport Scotland, and we'll hear more about it later on. But also looking at how we are putting our most vulnerable young people at the centre of this as well, in terms of looking at residential care and stronger support models around that in partnership with Bardi Foundation, etc. Our work around mental health and support our young people and around that. The social innovation and transformation activity for me is the real standout stuff, and I suppose that's with the kind of people education hat on. We've spoken about, and Councillor McCluskey sort of alluded to that area of capacity, and we've said this before as well. Critical to this particular council being the smallest mainland local authority, we know we're well aware of the constraints that we have. Partnership work and leveraging additional resource from partners is essential, but I believe we're actually doing that really effectively. I think we were doing it well before, I think we're doing it even better now in relation to the policies we put through, what we speak in the future, the TOM, etc. So I think it's a strong paper. Councillor was outlined, we do tend to say this, but I do think it is a good paper. It's a lot of detail in the paper. I think that's reflected in the work that's going on at the moment, so I welcome this update. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So the paper's up for debate. Something Councillor Murphy.
Say one. So it's great as a fairly new councillor only in a year to actually see all these different aspects put together in this paper. It shows a real, to me, when I read across it, it showed growth, which is what every local authority needs, what we all need. We need growth to survive moving forward, but also I could see underpinning it and underneath that a preventive model. So, for example, as Councillor Lindsay just alluded to, in terms of looked after children, one of the biggest aspects of that is prevention, to ensure children stay at home. And that's certainly with the promise being part of this extremely important. And I think that's something I'm passionate about, and I know that not only does it is it best for the wellbeing of children and young people throughout their whole lives, but it also is a cost-saving thing for the council. So it's hugely important, but also we're not just looking at putting a plaster on the wounds by a strategy like this. What we're doing is we're looking at how can we ensure that things are positive moving forward, and it's recognised worldwide now about community wealth building and wellbeing economies. And I think what's really important about Clackmannanshire Council is our partnerships with our third sector partners, because it's been well researched internationally that community development is absolutely key to things like reducing substance misuse, improvements of mental health. So it's absolutely essential that we take a community development approach going forward. And I see community mentioned across what we're trying to do as a council. So we're extremely happy to see all these aspects together in one place, and how it's all a sort of cohesive strategic approach rather than just looking at bits here and there, which I think can be not a positive way forward. So like I say, very, very happy to see this continuing as it's been presented. So thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor McTaggart, followed by Councillor Moore.
Thanks, Convener. I would just like to thank Nikki and every other member of staff who contributed to this informative and highly detailed report. There are so many positive and progressive elements listed that it's hard to pick any one out for specific mention. A new shape is emerging to bring all those elements together to make the best of the resources and finances we have at our disposal, while actively pursuing new and innovative delivery models. Our Strive and Family Wellbeing Partnership are just two of the ways we're tackling things like child poverty and social and financial isolation, improving outcomes for families and communities in Clackmannanshire on a daily basis. Our target operating model put outcomes at the heart of our delivery framework to ensure we can Clackmannanshire priorities and communities at the centre of everything that we do. We are the smallest mainland local authority, but we have big ambition. This comprehensive paper demonstrates that, and I look forward to putting some updates. What I'd like to say is that this seems to be bringing together everything that is good within the measures that we are taking and continue to take to move Clackmannanshire forward and make it a cohesive structure, so that we know that our communities are at the centre of this, and this report just highlights that even further. So thanks, Nikki, and thanks to all who have contributed to this.
Thank you, Councillor Moore.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I was out in the community recently speaking to somebody who works with their community, and they just wanted to say, like, the family wellbeing partnership, which you said it was just a breath of fresh air. So I just kind of wanted to share that, because we did say it's absolutely amazing the work that you are doing and the help that it's given. So I just wanted to share that. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Councillor Errol, to be followed by Councillor Harrison.
Yeah, thanks to you. I talked to everyone about the reception in countries. Okay, it's been explained in the speaker about that it does talk to the customer relations. Members of the public are forever asking about the return of reception in countries, where they feel that they come and raise their concerns face to face with the officer. Well, this may not be possible at all times. I believe, to be a focal point for members of the public. At the moment, there can be many other local authorities that don't have the safety area. And I believe it's imperative that this be completed as soon as possible. I understand from what they said here about the possible problems that will be put in place, but I believe it has to be done. They have to tackle these problems. I must have to be, I'm frequently being asked to explain the public will listen to when it comes to better customer relations, because sometimes they feel that they pass from pillar to post. I believe that the vision of proper section and temporary corporation is one way of tackling the situation. I'm aware that at the moment, forms that can get handed into the Sphere Centre and you have that bar, and it's not as effective in collecting the forms, but the public that don't feel that there's a scheme as a face-to-face contact that did exist in the past in Greenfield. As I say, I'm aware that the forms can be handed in the Space Centre and be distributed to serve from there. But this is saying that by some is unnecessary, where the forms can be sent to officers working in Kilncrease within a shorter period of time. I know that half of the staff assist the general public, but the public can't see or contact officers. It's something that the public treated fairly.
Putting that place, a focal point in place, may go a long way to dealing with that. Thank you, Peter.
Okay, thanks for that. Anybody else? Councillor Cullen?
Thank you, Convener. I think this paper demonstrates one thing that Clackmannanshire has learned, that the solution to a bus dam is not to find more buckets. I think what we're seeing here is tackling the dam itself, fixing the dam. That's absolutely very good. Totally support it. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any others? Councillor Watson, you have a share, sir?
Yeah, just some briefly, I do welcome the comments from everybody across the chamber. There is a lot of work going on here. Sometimes it's not always most visible because a lot of it goes on behind the scenes, and it's not until it kind of reaches the front facing that people realise what's going on. I had a 52-minute and 11-second conversation with somebody yesterday who thought there was absolutely nothing going on in Clackmannanshire, and I was able to kind of push back and actually give lots of examples of exactly the work that is going on by departments across the council to improve outcomes for local people. And I'm going to put that all down on paper and calendar and hang this and send it all to them. But I do, welcome the comments, welcome the support from everybody. I think, by working together, we're certainly making some changes here in Clackmannanshire. And just coming back ever so slightly on Councillor Errol's comments there, I think Stuart has given kind of as firm assurance as he can that the reception will be reopened again. In Craig's, there are obstacles to overcome. We need to make sure that they're done. But in the meantime, the Spear Centre is certainly open and available for anybody. And I would reassure members of the public that if the phoned officers, they're able to make an appointment and come in and speak to people if they need to. So there's certainly no barriers there that people face and being able to do that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. So the paper's asking us to look at issue 21, 22 and 23, and further asking council to agree to the streamline the council strategic planning agreement as described in section 7 and paragraph 76 and appendix 4, subject to the due diligence activity described, and further agree to endorse the proposed approach to develop phase 1 implementation plans for council's agreed Tom City. Have to agree? Yep. Okay, item 7, colleagues, is the Lands Investment 2 programme of Clackmannanshire. I'm going to take some paper. Thank you.
Morning, thank you, Convener. Good morning, Council. I'm here today to present the outcome of the Lands Investment Programme that the investment day was held on the 27th of April. This was the second investment programme that we've run as part of the Family Wellbeing Partnership in Clackmannanshire with support from our Scottish Government and the Hunter Foundation as our partners. For those who attended the day, it was highly engaging, and some of the comments earlier, we've heard the community speak to us in terms of what their asks and what their requests of us are. So coming forward, it does align with the last paper in terms of the future and the work we're going to take forward as part of the operating model. I'd like to place thanks again to sponsorship from Kingdom Housing Association and the Clackmannanshire Tenants Residents Federation in response to the Action Investment Day itself. The Council is asked to note the decisions that were taken on the day, but just an update in terms of the Theme Park submission. Kingdom Housing Association have offered to match the housing contribution noted, so the housing contribution will fall from 5,000 to 8,500. And Kingdom Housing Association have also offered kindly to supply additional play equipment. So when Ian McDonald and I are working with Theme Park in terms of the design of that community asset down at the school, we'll take that into consideration. So happy to take any questions.
Mr. Amber, any questions?
Yeah, happy to bring the paper. I think it's important to bring the people on that stage just to give members an update on the event that took place. So as most of you know, the First Lens programme, which was delivered last year as part of the Family Wellbeing Partnership, was such a success that the administration proposed and council agreed last year to support the second programme with £75,000 of funding to empower communities to make the changes they wanted to. And I was just going to say to Murray, I know that there's video clips of last year's event and video clips have been put together of this year's event, and it would be really good if those could be circulated to all members, just for those who weren't able to attend, just to see some of the work that was going on there, but also the impacts and outcomes for communities, because I think it's really quite special and something to see. So the report outlines 9 projects who presented their ideas at the recent event in the Town Hall, and those of you who attended will know the passion, commitment and hard work that went into every single proposal. I don't think that there's any one of us sitting there that would have said, there wasn't something worthwhile in every single one of those. There is no doubt that the investment judges who were appointed by the Lens and had to be independent of the council had an extremely tough job in deciding how to allocate the funds, and the table in the paper lays out the final decisions made by the judges. So every project which received funding will also benefit from additional support from partners to make their ideas sustainable. And as Murray's just updated there, Kindle Housing Association coming along to match the funding with the council wouldn't have happened without this event. And I think that's testament to exactly why these sorts of events are important, and that we invite partners in to attend the events and possibly see how they can support people. I'd also like to thank both the Clackmannanshire Tenants and Residents Federation and Kingdom Housing Association for their sponsorship of the event. And I think that's been a key part of the overall process, and really without their support, I don't think it would have been such a success. I hope the projects that have been agreed and funded will create a tangible and lasting change that's going to have a positive impact on people in Clackmannanshire. And important to stress again, this is people from communities coming forward to deliver the taste of change that they believe are going to make a difference. And moving forward, we need to listen much more to communities and help them deliver for them on the areas that they want to. So I'm very much looking forward to working with the Lens in future collaborations and watch this space, because I'm very hopeful that we'll continue this next year. Thank you.
So, Councillor Rosie's a second.
That's not a huge amount to add to that, to be honest. It's my second event as well, and I think I don't think there's anybody that would go to that event thinking that is one, not a good use of spending money, and actually the way that we distribute that is not a good use. So absolutely, it's a fantastic way to empower our communities who are at the centre of all the projects that have come forward. They either have passion and expertise, or both around each of the projects that are coming forward. So this is absolutely the right way to be engaging with our communities, to be empowering our communities, empowering people that are at the centre of the communities, and we need to empower and give them the ability to make decisions for their communities as well. So the only other thing that was just in terms of making people aware, if we need to be members of it, it's probably important to make the wider public aware of actually this method of distributing funds. So I would welcome sort of wider kind of distributing of any clips and things like that, just to really showcase the local manager, the approach that we are prepared to take in terms of community empowerment. So great programme, well done to all officers, staff, and we thank the support that's coming from the Tenants Residents Association, Kingdom Housing, etc., and the additional information that money is provided in terms of additional funding. And I think that's only going to grow as people recognise the work that's been done in and around this project. So massive fan and great project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Papers over to the Councillor Berry.
Thanks, again. Just to really echo everything that's been said, it was a really good day, a long day. But I must say the youngsters who were sitting from the primary school were very good. They sat there very nice for a long period of time. It's great that this is coming out and it's being much more vocal, so that people right across the county will see that these things are happening. And I'm sure we do, from word of mouth to being in the paper and all the rest of it, and the advertising. So really great, and it was great to see that everybody got something. There was nobody left the hall with nothing. So it was really good, and that some of the things that the teams were saying, and they bring a tear to your eyes. Some of them, I mean, it was really good that they all got something, and I was really pleased to be part of that, and hopefully next year as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hare, to be followed by Councillor Murphy.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just going to move one because I've been just said. I'm making apologies for making some mistakes that have already been said. The many other councillors, I also attended a presentation of the local groups who put forward different. And I'm glad that always been in the homeless with a very available combination. The pictures, they call it the white spectrum, but the one thing that we all had in common was a belief in entrepreneurship and working together for the betterment of their own particular communities. And it would be nice if every group get involved in the election. But I'm sure it would be better if all was something rather than some individual getting the groups getting it all. So they all would be relatively happy. As been said already, thanks must go to the Community Housing Association and the Clackmannanshire Tenants and Residents Federation for sponsoring the Business Day. I echo these comments. I think it's a tremendous day. I look forward to the going back to a similar event next year, and it would be good if we could actually increase the money for it. So, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy.
Like, it was my first time attending one of these events, and I have to say it was very enjoyable. It was very informative as well. Quite a shame that those common projects was actually on board, and I have to confess I didn't even know they were there. And that's the Common Ground project that worked out, I think, coming out of the Blue House in Tilbury. After the event, I've since been down to visit analysts who presented on the day to give me a tour of the facility and explain the projects that we have on there, plans for the future. I suggested other things we potentially get involved in as well. And it was great to go and see firsthand really how vital the funding they received is to the future of projects like that. Hearing the idea and seeing the picture on the day as well, but then you go and see it in real life and listening on a poster set, it really does show the value of these events. And it's great to hear the council leader talking about future events coming forward and listening to all of them really in terms of how important these events are and the benefit to all the communities. And I also echo councillor, I look forward to the next one coming forward. And again, the £75,000 that was put forward this year was fantastic. It would be even better if that was potentially able to be increased again going forward, because there's a whole variety of pitches put forward covering a great deal of different issues. And I think it was really important. It was great to see it firsthand. So yeah, it was really good thing. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. Anybody else, Councillor?
Yeah, I've spent some of my previous life just to get business through applications and doing applications. I know it's a tremendous experience to go through preparing a business plan, just for very educational. And that one of the great benefits from this event is teaching all these people. It's within a social context, but in fact the skills translate very simply and easily into this private economic side of business. The people participating, the people watching the process are learning from this. That's what we need. People to have the confidence to come out of the shell, put a plan together, argue it, debate it, and seek investment. And that way we need to build the economy around about us. So it's very, very important to be still in the broadcast through events like this. I'm really sorry I can look at it. It's I've read it. And I really hope that we continue to do more of
But,
yeah, just somewhat briefly, I do welcome the comments, and it was a really good event. And just touching on what Councillor Collins said there, and building community capacity and enabling communities to come forward with the solutions that meet their needs is absolutely key to community wealth building and key to absolutely everything that we're doing here in Clackmannanshire. So I'm glad to see that that's been recognised. And these events are supposed to be almost like planting the seeds in communities to enable them that the next time, that they're thinking about issues or problems that, we can solve them ourselves. We don't need somebody else to, to come forward and take the reins and solve that for us. And that's a huge culture change in somewhere like Clackmannanshire, where organisations like the council have always been seen as the first place to go. And I'm all for enabling communities to make the changes for themselves. So power to their elbows, and then looking forward to seeing more of this in the future.
Okay, thank you. So the papers are update paper asked to know the process undertaken in investment decision will be reached and to note the provisions of providing evaluation of the second programme to the family wellbeing partnership units. Happy to take the paper. Item 8, the budget strategy update. Lindsay, take us through that next.
Thank you. Good morning, Council. This report provides an update on the Council's approved budget strategy and the budget setting report for 24-25. Section 3 of the report sets out the indicative budget gap for 24-25, which is 11.6 million, and the cumulative gap 26-27 of 20 million. The assumptions used in calculating this gap are set out in the report, with further explanation included. As noted, these are high-level assumptions and there's much uncertainty around these factors. The assumptions on funding will be updated throughout the year as information. Financial challenge ahead of the Council in setting its budget for 24-25. As such, the report sets out the budget approach, which includes the creation of a budget working group, supported by the re-establishment of the Officer Capital Operations Group. This approach has already started with preparation underway for the first of a set of 3 challenge sessions, with our first one being held in June. The appendix to the report sets out a high-level budget timetable, which includes key milestones and times of briefings for elected members and trade unions. The further budget strategy updates reported to the Council throughout the year to update on the progress. I'm happy to take any questions on the paper.
Any questions?
Yeah, just one quick one from you. On paragraph 4.3, we know that the challenge board will provide regular updates to elected members and trade unions. These updates will give the for elected members and the trade unions the updated for the consulted and ask for their input rather than just being told what's happening.
The briefings will be similar as to what's been held in previous years, where we've had a separate briefing for elected members and a separate briefing for trade union members as well. And there's the opportunity for a two-way dialogue through that, so opportunity to ask questions or suggestions. And as always, if anybody wants to approach me and talk about the budget, I'm more than happy to speak to anybody on that as well.
Thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Convener. 4.3, when it says it was agreed that a budget working group would reduce the budget challenge board. First question, why? What's the benefit of that? What difference does it make? Will it make? And what benefits will we get from that?
So from the feedback of the budget setting process from last year, so that was feedback to the officers and from yourselves as elected members. We looked at how the nature of that was. So the budget working group will be led by myself, and membership will be the chief executive of the 3 directors. But we're also looking to get a lot of support from senior managers and make sure that senior manager input is coming forward. So we'll be having senior leadership forums, and we've got one organised for next week as the first one. So that will feed into the budget working group. So it's a bit more of a focused approach against for the directors, the chief executive, and myself, and then feeding in with the senior managers input as well.
So for you, what was the construction then of the budget challenge for? How does that compare with the new structure?
The budget challenge group is led by one of the directors, so one of the key differences is this budget working group will be chaired by myself.
Okay, there are no other questions? That's Councillor Fawcett on the paper, that's all.
Yeah, happy to take in the paper. So obviously the regular budget strategy update and it's really the continuing challenges faced by the council. And I think it's important we don't underestimate the challenges that we do have moving forward. Every year we manage to do a budget together, but certainly for me, every year for the last 10 years it's become more and more difficult to do that. And I've got no reason to believe that that's going to be different. However, COSLA council leaders are engaging with the new First Minister on a new deal for local government, so I'm hopeful that there might perhaps be a different way forward, whether that's removing of ring fencing or different ways of settlements, or perhaps being a bit more flexible with budgets. I don't know what this is at the moment, but there is going to be a report from COSLA leaders at the end of the month, and I'm happy to update members on that moving forward. When I look at some of the basis for assumptions here, already I can see areas that are going to prove to be difficult. The assumption based on a 2% pay increase, so we know that with ongoing negotiation between COSLA and the unions just now, a 2% pay increase is not going to be acceptable to staff. So straight away we're going to have pressures on that, and assumptions will need to be updated. There's grant funding, there's council tax, there's demand pressures, etc. The assumptions all there. I think that are probably at the point where they're going to change. And that will make the situation even more challenging. So we need to be aware of that moving forward. The appendix itself sets out the key milestones and timelines, and I think that's going to be of interest to members. I think it's important that everybody's aware of the different dates and what to expect. I personally welcome input from all councillors, and I'm going to commit to setting up political engagement to run in tandem with these the timescales set out there. In past, I've met with group leaders to kind of discuss budgets and possible, proposals coming forward. But I think we're working on a slightly different landscape now. We've got a different makeup across the chamber, so a way forward just to make sure that everybody feels that they've had at least the opportunity to kind of feed in. Barring the politics that will happen around budgets, I think that's something that we've always got to be aware of. So we're very early on in the process. I'm looking forward to future updates and containing more detail and to engaging with members across the chamber. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. And just to build on this, it sets up the context, it's challenging context, it's a different context. We've been here over the last, certainly myself now, this will be the seventh year that we'll do this, and it's certainly if anything, it's getting more challenging as we look at the savings that are required, not just across the whole council, but in the area of sort of education people to get through that are looking at as well. Welcome the budget approach. And welcome the further approach in terms of trying to reach out to political groups as well. We are keen to engage as early as possible, because because of the context of something that is, I think it's important that we do that and don't leave it to the kind of last minute. So welcome the approach in terms of the officer approach, but echo Councillor Wilson's comments around how we engage politically across the chamber as well at the earliest opportunity. The pressure is there. Again, looking forward as well to seeing what comes forward. We are particularly challenged in this local authority around ring fence funding. We have areas that we would like to move on, but are perhaps restricted on. So I'm too looking forward to seeing what comes from. Because we will push on that as well and press hard in terms of trying to improve the leverages that we can have, or the movements and the flexibilities that we could potentially have going forward, because without those, it's going to prove increasingly difficult to manoeuvre our finances to a balanced position. So I'll leave it there for now. Straightforward update, I think, at the moment, clearly outlines the strategy in terms of early engagement and the budget, and I'm happy to support that.
Okay, thank you. Papers open for debate. Councillor Benny.
Thank you, Chair. Just to say, I was really encouraged to hear what the council leader said there about engagement across. And I think that's really important. I said this since it started, Julie, that we're all working to the same goal. You know, so ultimately, I think the more we can work together constructively, I think that's been really beneficial moving forward. And I was really encouraged to hear that. And certainly my new role, the cause lab, will certainly be sort of pushing forward with that as well. I noticed this was highlighted in SCB in Scotland tonight last night as an issue for councils across Scotland. So hopefully that publicity will mean that there'll be some move forward with that and we can have a better landscape moving forward for budgeting. So thank you.
Thank you. Any others? You check yourself. Okay, so it's Lindsay, I think it's an update paper that's been asked for names that are listed from 211 to 216. You have the third paper. Dates on the end, update. Thank you.
I think we're going to should be on the night today. Question around the wrong dimensions of what we can do. Thank you, convener. Thank you, councillors. I'm pleased to present this paper, which is the latest update on the Wellbeing Hub. As we have committed to the council at the request of the council leader, we will provide an update to every council meeting because of the extent of this project and ensure that we're kept updated. At times, which is probably today is one of them, there's not a huge amount of progress in terms of actually seeing moving us on to the next stage, but nevertheless there's an awful lot of work going on behind the scenes. In particular, the paper asks council to note that progress, particularly on the development of the brief, which will inform the business case to move the project to the stage 2 and for a design team to be appointed. Extensive work has been underway to ensure that this brief is as robust and well developed as possible, and you'll see in the paper the work that's been supported by the Scottish Futures Trust and other experts to make sure that we get that brief pinned down as clearly as possible for the design team. The paper also notes that we continue to engage and raise awareness of the project, and the team are out engaging with various representative groups and individuals such as CTSI, the University of Stirling, the Resilience Learning Partnership in the most recent round of engagement. The paper also notes the agreement, the further 4-year contract with Sport Scotland, which is leveraged in a considerable amount of money to support the development of the hub, as well as the wider framework around sport and active living. And the Sport Scotland support, we're extremely grateful for the support that they're giving us to the project. The value of that agreement is over £900,000. Lastly, the council is asked to note the success of the school swimming programme, which we committed to, as council committed to, as you may recall. It's now underway. We're near the end of the first block with 253 children completing that programme, our 5 children across Dollar Academy and the Peak, and that includes Lockie's school children. It has gone particularly well. We had a bit of a wobble with one child only, but all those children have now been in the water and are developing their water confidence and their skills, which is absolutely fantastic. And just one thing to note, a kind of wider benefit is that we are also building up a network of young people, local young people, with their swimming and lifeguard qualifications, and that's important to us as we go forward with developing a small pool for Clackmannanshire. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, thanks, Lorraine. Councillor Perry.
Sure. Hi, Lorraine. Just one thing, how long can we sustain Lockheed School before the new build is built, and will there be a gap in there?
I think we can sustain it. My colleagues are here from the Learning Estate. I'm sure we've got knowledge from Pete Leonard there. Clearly, we want to move the children out of there, but we are maintaining the school in a state where it's actually fit for learning. But we need to move it as quickly as possible. But we will sustain it until the new Lockheed School is built.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lee.
Next year. My question sort of relates to the separate, the different river stages. It's one team running both projects. I'm just wondering, because it's two projects and it is construction and it is high profile, very different needs in each. If one has issues or efficiencies at the same time, money, etc., will the other be held back? Because there's quite a front getting there for Q4 2026. I'm assuming that's going to launch both projects. But I'm aware all too well that the construction doesn't always work like that, and the pool might be ready either before that or it might have delays. But I'm looking for reassurance that one issues with one will impact the other, and that one is ready, it's good to go, and the other one can fall behind. What was a bit with the pool and what is deteriorating all the time. It's essentially the way to get this done, and I know that's the desire. But more construction, my background in construction, I know that there'll be efficiencies and issues in each project separately, which will feed in your real estate by.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, as you know from previous updates, we've brought the project together because it makes sense to bring it together. It's on the same site. There are complementary factors which we can absolutely use some of the spaces within Lockheath and vice versa, so that there are benefits to bringing that project together. However, it's a very complicated construction project, just as you indicate. The priority would be to get wellbeing up ready, because we do have the existing building of Lockheath, and then we will be able to move them in. So they may not be both ready exactly at the same time. That is being developed within the project and within the project planning. So we will push ahead with the wellbeing hub and Sunlose and Lockheath as soon as it's ready. We will transfer the children, which will be either at the same time or shortly afterwards. We have a bit more leeway in terms of Lockheath, in terms of being able to open that building.
Well, speaking of because but it's an active project.
My question's about the one. Sorry, and the one thing I keep on getting from people is, oh, what's happening? We don't know what's happening. What's the next update? And part of the reason for bringing these papers forward is not only to kind of update elected members, but to update the public. So we're clearly not quite getting there. I'm wondering if there are any plans for engagement over the summer. I'm thinking in particular, there's going to be community events going on in absolutely every single town and village. And it's a real opportunity for the council to kind of get out, have a stall, have information about progress and what we're doing, speak directly to people, get feedback. Are we going to be doing that?
We can we do have a comms team working on the project. I think if I'm being entirely honest, this is the kind of difficult stage. There's no evidence, just as I indicated, at this stage it's behind the scenes project brief, and it's really hard to kind of get that out into the public because they don't see any progress. But in terms, so once we get plans developed and we have them to be able to show to the public, I think it'll be a lot easier. Certainly once we have, the first sod cutting, we should be able to, people can see that. But so I think it is a difficult stage, to be perfectly honest, but Alison's here, and I think the comms team would be happy to ask them to pick that up in terms of community engagement over the summer.
100%, and as we move to the concept design, which is starting in the quarter, the part of that is engagement around the concept designs as we move forward, so that it will become a lot more visible into the public as in the stage that we're actually at.
Questions?
Paragraph 2.5 in 9 is that new money, or is that old money to be described? Is that the input or as much?
So it's an increase on the money that we have had. So we do have a partnership agreement with Sports Scotland. It's not all new money, but what we do is we have to then negotiate with Sports Scotland in terms of what we will deliver, what they will deliver for us, and how that is brought forward. So that's the current agreement value that we have in Sports Scotland. So it's an increase on previously, and it's money that they have now committed to Clackmannanshire for the next 4 years. Does that answer your question?
think so. So that's an expenditure period, that's a planned expenditure over time. And sports Scotland are contributing some of that.
Sports Scotland are contributing all of that.
That's
Okay, thanks. If there are no other questions, Councillor Hanson, do you have the paper?
Thanks, Convener. Thanks, Elaine. Yeah, I'm happy to leave this paper today. I feel like me, and it's obvious from the questions that have been asked, that everybody is really anxious to see physical work happening on the pavilion side. I'd love to see spaces around bricks and mortar going up as well. But when we are dealing with a multi-million pound, very high profile and ambitious project like this, it's really key that we make sure that the planning is done, that the planning accordingly to make sure that the outcomes expected of the project are met. There has been a huge amount of work carried out by the team behind the scenes. It's not always obvious to everybody. There have been 4 workshops that have been carried out using the briefing and evaluation framework. And they've focused on place, context and collective planning, combined vision. So we can't always forget that it's not just about well-being, it's lobbies as well. So it's a combined facility, strategic outcome and smart objectives. So these, along with a number of visits that have taken place to similar facilities, will help inform our decisions going forward as we define a project briefings for the well-being of the workplace development. While all of this has been going on, the P5 swimming programme started on the 24th of April, and as part of the commitment to ensure swimming lessons have been developed. As Elaine said, there have been over 200 pupils across Clackmannanshire who have attended swimming lessons. So again, we've talked about partnership a lot today, so thanks to our partners at Royal Academy and Peak and Stirling for helping us out with this. And also, while these lessons have been ongoing, our sport and leisure team, including the whole primary PE team, have been developing a completely new swimming service supported by Scottish Swimming, and they should really be commended for the work that they have done on this. I'd probably like to take the opportunity while we're talking about that to thank the sport and leisure team for their efforts, not only the well-being hub, but what they do day to day as well, and other offerings across Clackmannanshire. We probably don't get the recognition in the chamber for the efforts that they're doing. As Elaine also outlined, we've recently entered a new partnership agreement with Sports Scotland for over £900,000, and this will help us to plan and deliver our local priorities for sport and active living, and that will also include the well-being of and lobbies development and others. This paper is part of our commitment to continuing to update council on the progress made with the Wellbeing Hub. There is, of course, also the website and the freedom of expression section on that. And these alongside some of the community engagement sessions that have taken place with Clackmannanshire Alliance, CPSI, Broken Sports Council, etc., and others that Elaine mentioned will continue as the project develops. And yeah, it's a really good idea actually if we can use the summer sessions of local areas when they're out and about doing their galas and stuff. If we can get engagement with that, it'd be really good thing to just to actually engage face to face with people as much as possible. So yeah, loads happening. I think that there are loads of progress, not always visible to everybody. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lindsay, 2 seconds.
Yeah, thanks. And obviously pleased also to see a further update on the Wellbeing Hub, but also that additional detail around the new partnership agreement with Sports Scotland has been referenced already in the rollout of new T5 swimming lessons and the associated training as well. But in terms of defining that project brief, Scott's alluded to the fact that the partnership is a breadwinner well and truly through this process again, which is really positive. And the work that we're hearing about quite intensely with SFT has been hugely positive, as I say, from the work that I'm picking up from some officers within that in terms of going through that deep in the evaluation framework. So, and that work is absolutely critical. Scott's right, the public figure want to see things moving, why we're not getting problems up, etc. And we've always recognised that there is a gap, there is that unwanted gap between the new facility, but we have to absolutely get this right, not least because of the complexity, the co-location, But in terms of actual wellbeing hub itself and what we want that to be aspirational. So the work, I'm absolutely confident in terms of the work that's going on there to get that right and facilitation workshops to get that design brief absolutely right. The P5 swimming lessons, I don't think we should be, we need to shout as loud as possible that the local authorities have been putting these types of activities up for savings, and that will continue to be the case. We are investing and actually increasing the number of lessons that we are now doing. It's always been an internal approach, and we're now delivering on an internal approach, which is hugely positive. So in partnership with the Dollar Academy and Peak, and we're grateful to them and their scheduling of the lessons within that. But that investment in developing young people and others, through the National Swimming lifeguard training, I think is so forward thinking, absolutely the right thing to do as we're thinking about building capacity going forward, and linking that in with our key offer as well. Just wanted to know, slight aside, but really important, we sometimes forget here that we are probably, I think we are the only local authority in the country that still has a primary PE specialist in every school, and that is something again that we should be shouting about, because in terms of the physical health, well-being, physical competency of the young people, that's something authorities have seen a diminishing within, and that's a huge strength that we still invest in that particular area. So just wanted to throw that in a slight side, but connected to that key offer. So this project's about building a vision, building a facility, and building capacity within our people, and delighted to see the steps that are being taken in that journey. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Papers open for debate. Do you wish to debate the paper? Okay, on that basis, we're going to need to sum up, an opportunity to sum up. The papers like the paper last to note the recommendation of the reference to the second, and happy to prove. Item 10, which is the report of the 11 strategy.
Good morning, everyone. I'm pleased to present to you the report on the impact and evaluation of the digital learning strategy and information implementation plan 2019-2022. To seek approval from Council for the revised digital learning strategy and action plan 2023-2025, which aligns with Clackmannanshire Council's digital strategy approved by Council on the 18th of April 2019. Clackmannanshire Council published the previous Education Service Digital Learning Strategy and Implementation Plan in August 2019. The plan outlined its main objectives: progress the use of digital technology in our schools and establishments, whilst developing the skills of school leaders, educators and learners. The strategy centred on 6 individual projects outlined in the report in Amendment 1, the progress of which was hugely accelerated as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, which required the delivery of teaching and learning in a more flexible and responsive way with the move to blended and online learning. Our head teachers and staff recognise the importance of digital technologies within and out of the classroom and have adapted how they teach in line with the way young people learn. Integral to this has been the digital device rollout, which is now in year 3 of a 10-year device deployment plan funded by Clackmannanshire Council capital funding, and to date has seen a total of 6,837 Chromebooks deployed to children and young people from primary 4 to S6. iPads are now being deployed to lower primary and additional support for learning establishments. The rollout, along with the 5 other projects, has been evaluated and the impact on learning teaching measured, with feedback collated from young people, parents, carers and staff. Qualitative and quantitative data captured has underpinned our next steps, as outlined in our new digital learning strategy and action plan, which is noted at Appendix 2 in your papers. Our new strategy recognises the significant impact the global pandemic has had, and our aim is to build on and learn from those experiences and to maximise the potential that technology offers as we move forward. This is also underpinned by the National Improvement Framework's commitment to collaboration, to achieve excellence and equity in education. And it aligns with the objectives of the Scottish Government's digital learning and teaching strategy for Scotland. Central to this are our 4 priorities in our plan: to develop the skills of staff and young people, to continue to improve access to digital technology for all, to ensure that digital technology is a central consideration in all areas of curriculum and assessment delivery, and empower our leaders to drive innovation in how they use digital technology. Our action plan outlines how we plan to take forward these 4 priorities over the next 2 years, with the first key action the formation of a digital working group and the establishment of a digital lead in every establishment. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, thanks, Chair. Have you got any questions? Councillor Wilson.
I'll let you think. I'll let the case lead up to plus the benefit we discussed in the health and other regulations, if that's okay.
Thank you for the explanation, there's only one question I've got, and I suppose it's around priority 2. I'm not seeing anything in there about improving the ability for people to bring new devices to school. I think there are a number of reasons that that's important. One, young people can be used to a certain device they're using at home. 2, if they've got a device, it doesn't make sense for the council to then kind of fund a further device. Resources could be targeted elsewhere for people who maybe don't have a device at home. And so if people are something comfortable with that, I know there were challenges in the past in relation to this, but I was hoping that we might have been able to move on. I've not seen anything about that in the strategy. There is a digital project manager lead who is evaluating situations like the one we just described, and he has responsibility for linking in with each of our schools and working together with the senior managers to ensure that any issues that arise with regard to the deployment of devices are addressed. And on the back of that, things like how we can possibly refresh our current laptops and Chromebooks and iPads, and then they can be reused and repurposed, will also be part of that to ensure that there is a situation where every young person who needs access to a digital device will have that. If they have their own device and they prefer to use that, we have looked at the option of a bring your own device policy as well. We're at the very early stages of that, but that could be something that we're going to explore in the future.
Thank you, Councillor Sully.
So as a major individual first, mine was that's a fundamental question in terms of replenishment of the Chromebooks. So firstly, fantastic achievement in that role, and one of challenging and technical problems there. But what sort of replenishment figures are you working on, and the time scales in terms of replacing new technology?
So the first, we're into year 3 for the 10-year rollout, and years 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are dedicated to ensuring that every young person has a device. The latter stages, years 5 to 10, are about replenishing and refreshing our technologies to make sure that our laptops and Chromebooks and iPads are fit for purpose. And we hope that obviously that will evolve so that we can perhaps reduce the time. 10 years is the plan, but we're actually a little bit ahead of where we plan to be. So the hope would be that for the second half of the 10-year plan, that's when we look at the quality of it.
And three quick questions. Why iPads for younger primary schools over Chromebooks?
That was an evaluation that we did amongst staff and parents and young people. It's easier, quite frankly, for lower primary school people and for additional support for learning cohorts to cope with the iPads rather than the actual keyboards on the Chromebook. So they cope better with that. Just the surface is a a learning experience for them. But all the evaluations suggested that that was the effective.
Although Chromebooks are just getting a bit more robust in terms of their hands and function. Fantastic figures in terms of So fantastic figures in terms of the 87% satisfaction rate. The remaining 13%, have we had any indication as to what the challenges are being for those that haven't been happy with the improvements?
Yeah, we actually do. We have the feedback about what it was that was considered. It was more to do with the length of time for repairs, and you know, the actual using of the laptops was not a problem, but it was the length of time that perhaps to be able to get a repair recognised and to get that completed. So we've tried to address that by ensuring that there's a more streamlined approach to how people can report that we have got any issues that this is something that came from parents, isn't it?
Final question. The challenge at the moment is artificial intelligence and use of apps like BART and Google, which is embedded in our own software. Has the US and Education Authority thought how you can tackle that and those issues?
Part of what we do as part of our pastoral support in school is responsible digital citizenship. So that's covered throughout the curriculum from early years right up to the end of secondary. And as we know, it's a changing landscape with technology, so anything we do like that, if it's covered and is reduced into a situation where we actually can have a following curriculum where we can keep matters like that years ago.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor McCoy.
Thank you. It's been really encouraging to see the level of quality of the digital devices. I'm keen to one of the schools that isn't the case. I have two questions. First one is, are the devices intended exclusively for use in school, or there's opportunities to take them home? Is that dependent on the individual school policy?
No, they're absolutely to be used within and out of school. So we have we've asked young people what would make that easier perhaps. So we had a request that they would like kind of more robust type carriers, so we were arranged to have them. And the idea is that the work in the classroom is continued out with as well, so it's not supposed to be a stop. You use this Chromebook in school and then you go home. If you've got a device, that's fine. It's meant to be, and this is the hope that this strategy will kind of reflect the idea that this is an integral part of learning rather than a bolt-on.
I'm not going to answer the question in relation to the answer. That's okay. In terms of kids being able to take them home, has there been any difficulties in that aspect in terms of, has there been issues with the internet connectivity at home? And if there has been those kind of issues raised, is there anything been done to kind of address that in the sense?
We did an audit of this, and especially during the lockdown, to ensure that any young person who didn't have access was able to purchase Wi-Fi devices so that young people could have that same equity of access as their peers.
Final one if I can. Just like all sort of digital devices, there's always constantly updated software for that kind of stuff. What type of IT support is available to the schools and the school staff, and what type of them would have the specialist knowledge to do this to ensure that the devices are updated regularly and use?
This is a big part of why we're looking to appoint a digital lead in every school. We obviously do have a project manager who coordinates a lot in relation to particular apps that perhaps schools ask for, to make sure that there's any issue or any concern we can raise that. But we have discovered that we really need more of a kind of cohesive approach to that, which is why we're going to have a working group with a digital lead in each classroom to be able to coordinate that with them.
Perfect, thanks so much.
Thank you. Councillor McTaggart.
Thanks, mine's maybe a more fundamental question. In days gone by, like finance is good. If you were needing help with homework, etc., obviously give parents or older peers or whatever would be helpful with that. Do we have any difficulty being voiced from parents when homework is delivered on a digital device and the parents maybe having quite as familiar with the digital device, and it could maybe be because we leave that friction there for them?
Part had any feedback specifically related to that, but I do take your point, and that would be part of the working group, is looking at how we make sure that young people's parents and families can understand how they can support with homework tasks. Because although we have Google Classroom and it's very much embedded in the way teachers teach, the way young people learn, absolutely, if we don't have that extra layer of support at home, if there's some parents perhaps aren't sure of how that works, then there's going to be a barrier to it. So that's something that we tend to think for. Thanks.
Good, Councillor Lee.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Really good paper, really positive. So hopefully we take it to the dark terms, but digital learning, well said, I asked, it's also a great danger. It's a very dangerous place, and it's a very almost place. I have a lot of background in cybersecurity as well. So I'm just wondering what's in place security-wise to protect our children and our staff and our systems from malicious intent, and both external and internal.
This is something that I would defer to the digital lead who's more au fait with the information in relation to exactly what systems are in place. But what I would say is it's been very thoroughly vetted to ensure that it's as safe as it possibly can be, and it's updated. Part of this job is to ensure that's still the case. We recently had a head teacher ask if it was a specific concern that we had a particular aspect. And of course, there's a vetting process before we can agree to that. So we believe that we're as robust as we possibly can be. And what we also make sure is that we promote, as I said, responsible digital citizenship, and we make sure that young people understand the consequences of safety online. And we've had case studies through social education. We've had employers speak to young people about actually your digital footprint is so important, and how that can actually affect your future as well. So we think we've got a really good system to try and tackle and address any of these arising problems.
It's continually monitored and updated, because any barriers that put in place today will be overcome tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it's very fluid. And just a bit of context behind that. So I put it in a hackathon a couple of months back, and hackers are going to sit where they've got the access fake systems that will create for them to hack. So very talented young people that, if so willing to do so, can do system. So that's so I can get a dark tournament just want to make sure that my kids are safe and everything else kids are safe.
Okay, just before we go, Stuart, do you want to add something?
Thank you, Convener. There are various aspects of cybersecurity. I think some of the things you've heard about community about the community culture, processes, policies, etc. in place. But just to assure that there is an IT team within the IT department that are solely, we actually have two systems. We have a corporate system and a learning and estate system, just for the very reason we've got some really clever people, young people out there that like to get in about the technology. So we make sure there's an absolute clear delineation between our corporate network, with lots of very sensitive information, and the school network, and we've got an extremely dedicated team that's supporting that like that. So and almost it's a bit like the pipe work. We've got people around here that are looking after that, making sure the defences are in place for cybersecurity. And that's complemented with a lot of the stuff that has to happen to people about, how to safely use technologies, the ethics around that, etc. as well. So just to reassure that there's a lot going on in that space, and there are dedicated teams supporting the schools on that.
Okay, thanks, Councillor.
No, this is a follow-up to Councillor Lee's question and the response you gave. I think a lot of the responses talk about kind of software and those things laptop, like external threats as well. Have we had any mentioned as a team? Do we have any penetration tests being done or system for external audits on our system to ensure that it's secure?
I hate having to say I would have to come back. I am almost sure and I'm almost certain that happens. I can say for sure that I had a conversation on penetration testing on a corporate network that is certainly something, whether it's done on our schools network, I would have to check specifically on that, but I think it's part and parcel of the overall cyber security, so I'd be very surprised if it wasn't happening, but I could give you concrete cast iron assurances. My background is in trees and woodlands, and that's the door. I could see in this area, I'm living rapidly, but I'd have to check with the experts in essence, but I'm willing to do that and come back to you.
Thank you. Would you get back to us and kind of send that information out? It's of interest to kind of see that. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, possible.
Sorry to come back to you. I want to come to the issue of insurance, because as we know, young people can be a bit happy with things. I've got a 15-year-old who's been carrying his phone about in the bag with him for the last year, and it fears me that everything goes out the door. And but also, I know staff use them, accidents can happen, and I do know that there's different ways of purchasing equipment. Some are purchased appropriately and they're handed out, but obviously establishments can kind of purchase their own equipment. I'm just looking, I suppose, for details of are all equipment insured, or are people held liable for any damages and breakages? And if something is damaged or broken, I would hate to think a young person could come forward because they were a bit fear of the implications of that. So how are we dealing with all of that?
Your IT expert. So my general understanding is that we buy the devices corporately, and so they come through that corporate, so they're procured and come through the same systems as the kit that comes through for the corporate systems. From recollection, there's a warranty period. I think it's a year, so they'll be under warranty for that period of the year. And there'll be certain things that they have for these devices that the warranty wouldn't cover. But I would just say generally covered by an insurance policy. So I think we understand that having had dealt with kids and digital devices myself, with kids and even older ones that are at university now, that things happen, things go wrong, and I think we anticipated that day one someone would get dropped, someone would be dropped in a puddle, things like that. So I don't think there'll be any issues around that. But generally covered by warranty for a period of time, and then covered by insurance policies.
Just following up on that, you might want information. Do you have any stats on wages, etc.?
Since we don't, but I know that we can factor that into the whole purchase, and that there would be an element of refresh that would be required more, a bit faster than we would expect, because of that whole thing. Somebody lost it, I got dropped and whatever. So
Okay, thanks. It might be good to just get clarity after at some point out to the council on mission resolutions. There's no further questions to ask. Councillor Muzzy, can I have the paper?
Yeah, thanks, Convener. I'm happy to pose the paper. And to be honest, I think the line of questioning across the chamber would be really helpful, actually, just pulling some other key information out, particularly around what information is how to support parents. I think that will be something that we'll need to look at as well and support, and continue to do that. Likewise, I have 2 young children who are probably better at digital devices than I am, so recognise the positives and the challenges around that element. So no, it's I think that's going to be a helpful discussion. So just to try and what we've got together then and proposing. So this revised digital strategy recognises the significant impact the global pandemic's had on the way learning and teaching is delivered. And as I say, as a parent, I've recognised that rapid change. That change to online learning during the pandemic, so a rapid shift in how digital technologies are embraced by educators and access for learners. The aim of this is to build and learn on those experiences and maximise the potential that technology offers, move forward to ensure our children and young people continue to have a high quality and engagement and motivated learning experiences both in school and at home. So again, to clarify that these devices are to be used in both areas. The new digital learning strategy runs parallel to the Council digital strategy overall and is underpinned by the Scottish Government's commitment to delivering excellence in regulatory Scottish education. The strategy is focused on supporting schools and establishments to be ambitious, innovative, forward-thinking and working together to make a difference to all children and young people. The revised strategy seeks to ensure that children and young people have the opportunity to build on their digital skills, so the learning, increasing their confidence and maximising their opportunities to prepare for life, learning and work across this digital age. The strategy is underpinned by the National Improvement Framework. It is a long-term commitment to a collaborative approach to improving Scotland's education system and to achieving excellence and equity through raising the table and improving outcomes. And the strategy aims to build upon the good work that's already taken place, as has already been outlined. A huge amount of good work, and I think Clackmannanshire has been really forward-thinking, not least in getting the digital devices out, but actually in the way that the work and the experiences have been implemented across the board. So happy to propose paper, and again, thanks for the contributions so far.
Thank you. Councillor Hamilton, second.
Thanks, Convener. I'm pleased to note second and note the continued commitment of Cracks Council to ensure children and young people build on their use of digital skills through a strategy for some and the national improvement framework. Councillor Lynn is already set. As revised strategy says, digital learning is constantly evolving, and the learning strategy sets out clearly the key actions in a collaborative approach that the council is taking. I'm also pleased to note the girls' positive feedback so far, and take note that living unfortunately in an area that does social deprivation, this ensures all learners have equal access and ensures digital inclusion. That's secondly.
Okay, thank you. Papers open for debate. Councillor Bennett.
It's there, yeah. It's great to see that the pandemic has done something good. Although we could have had them eventually, we might not have been as quick as doing it. But just been doing it for a couple of years. The actual access to these books is amazing. I mean, I have trouble with the iPad, but I'm a different generation, so and I don't have kids, I don't have small kids, so that's fine. But it's really great to see that all kids, whatever happens in the home, are having these things so that they've got them at home and they've got them at school. So it can only be a good thing, and it also means that as they grow up, they're very aware of IT, that they've got no issues with iPads or mobile phones or anything like that. And as the way forward, I think it's really good, and I'm really pleased to see it happening. It's a very good paper. I was very pleased to see how much information there was in there, so thank you for that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Balsoni, followed by Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to commend our educational services actually for preparing this paper and the fantastic achievement logistically of the rollout. The questions that we've asked are really highlighting complexities of the whole issue around digital technology and the challenges of preparing a strategy on this. Admittedly, the strategy is only up to 2025. I think a digital strategy has to be nimble. I do kind of question, 8 years for hardware these days and the technology side. I think we might have to revise some of those numbers because technology is advancing so quickly. But the challenges are there. I think Glasgow City issued a number of learners with virtual reality headsets. And my hope when we look at a digital strategy is that we bring it back into the schools so that we look at virtual classrooms, expand the curriculum into areas that we haven't done before. Digital allows us to do that in terms of having a small number of people involved in things like foreign languages, Russian or other areas of technology. I'm sure our education services is looking at that, and that's where I see a real opportunity as we move forward. In terms of the evidence that we provided, I'm quite surprised at the low use of digital technology, 3.4%, given the growth of TikTok and the like. But the issue is a real challenge for our educators. If you look at, I mentioned Bard and Google, which is this digital's got a whole host of people, unfortunately, in the print sectors and the print works. So when out of work, the new AI and Bard technology is now threatening the skills of writing. I'd like to think that's always going to be there, but it's for our educators to kind of demonstrate that. It's probably so much I could say about this particular subject. Like Stuart, my former tree hugger, so I'll probably stop there. Not former, still like trees. So, but it's such a challenging area. But I do think, as a council, we should act and okay. Because COVID certainly acted as a catalyst in our rollout and the speed that it was done. Again, I have to be commended for that. But I think we should pat ourselves on the back as a council. Smallest mainland local authority, I think we've done really well, and we've equipped our young people with what is the modern life in terms of connection to digital. We shouldn't be complacent though. There's a real challenge there. Given the paper that we've been produced today, I have confidence that we're moving ahead in the right direction. And again, I commend starting for that next year.
Thank you, Councillor.
I remember way back when we first started the pandemic, our service was rushing around to get equipment for children as well as adults, and it was huge, it was transformative. And it taught us some really valuable lessons about that it's not always, education is not always accessible for all sorts of different reasons. Like a lot of children and young people have school phobias, they're unable to engage with the education through severe anxiety. And this means that there's not a barrier for them, they're still able to then go on and access the education. And under even the Equality Act, that's really important to ensure that education is accessible for all, and I think this is massively vital moving forward. And I totally agree with what Donald's saying, that we need to look at more approaches like this moving forward about virtual classrooms. And I think that means there's not so much division for children and young people that just for all sorts of reasons can't engage. And I know we always try and encourage that they do and put measures in place to encourage that they do for that socialisation, but for some children and young people, that's absolutely not possible. So I think this is an essential way forward. It's not just something that, it's extremely positive. I also see it as essential, and I'm very much welcome this paper.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you. No, I'm very pleased to see this one strategy that's in the technology sector for a fintech company. So, I get the important this is, and like he says already, one of the big positive things that come out of the pandemic is we really been a step up. We celebrated where we should have been with technology stars, but the whole country as a whole. And then I remember when I was at school, it's more than 20 years ago now. That's the technology I was learning about. It's probably about 4 or 5 years up to date at the time then, so it wasn't really much use what they were teaching me. And, these days, when our young people are leaving and they're going to, university or going to workplace, probably most jobs you go to the university, you'll be given technology or you'll be showing how to use technology. And so it's important that, this is kind of part of experiences, that they're kind of learning that from an age, they're being prepared for life, they're being prepared for work, they're prepared for all those kind of things where technology is an integral part of everything that we're doing. And we see as well, and it's a big part of the discussion we have a lot of time when we talk about technology, is the struggles for people that are struggling to use it, struggling to access it. So we're putting that in place, especially from an early age. But like Sorry you mentioned, there is challenges with this. There's always challenges. I mean, that's the idea of the day. There's challenges with this kind of stuff. But it seems like we're making really good progress. pleased to see the speed that this has kind of come out with. I'm really happy with the strategy and all the work's been done by the officers and the schools to kind of make this happen and this to be this. But I just wanted to get out of the board and say thank you to everybody for what they've done.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lindsay, do you have an opportunity to sum up?
No, I don't think so. I think all the information that's been provided is good work. I think it's good as well for the comments that have been noted as well. So thanks for that. And that's been very helpful.
Thanks to Fiona Stewart for taking all those questions for us as well. There's two recommendations, because number one of them now. The second one is to approve the revised digital level strategies regulating. Okay, sincere apologies for those who probably should have stopped at least a few minutes ago than an hour. We're sitting here 2.5 hours and so we'll stop the short games and come back at the 4:00. Thanks, Lloyd. That's the agenda. Item 11, consideration of use of recycling collection policy. Pete, for this new treatment. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. Good afternoon, members. So on the 19th of August 2021, the Council declared a climate emergency, recognising that climate change is one of the most serious challenges facing communities in Clackmannanshire. We agreed to develop a comprehensive climate change strategy that will deliver a framework to ensure that all strategic decisions and budgets are taken in line with a shift to net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2045. On the 11th of August, the Council agreed to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions to zero by 2040 in respect of its own operations. And as the paper shows, the management of waste constitutes a large proportion of the Council's own emissions. So it's integral to achieving its targets, as you can see in figure 1. A strategic waste management update report was presented to Council on the 16th of December, which updated members on national changes in waste collection and disposal, which have been brought about in order to end the practice of sending biodegradable municipal waste to landfill and to contribute to climate change targets, to ensure that Scotland's waste is managed in a sustainable way. The part of that paper provided details on a review and options appraisals by the Council's household waste collection service, which was being undertaken by consultants through funding along with Zero Waste Scotland. The other report was brought before Council on the 11th of August 2022, and the joint procurement with Sterling for a waste disposal solution was taken forward and approved. And then this report comes back to Council with proposed changes to Council's household waste and recycling collection service, a direct reference to the options appraisal work that was undertaken. This to reduce carbon emissions, changes to the lines to prompt behavioural change amongst residents, improvements in recycling performance, and resulting in a reduction in non-recyclable waste arriving. Those changes will ensure compliance with the code of practice for household recycling in Scotland and will future-proof the Council waste recycling operations against further anticipated legislative and policy changes, which you have mentioned in the paper. The recommendations are set out in section 2. I can take questions and will be assisted by Dan Stewart, the team leader for waste, and again, Donald Hughes, the senior leader for environment.
Thanks, Pete. Question, Councillor
I've got quite a few questions, so I don't mind if we through them on like one. Yes, Lauren, I'll go through them one by one. In 3.4, there's a statement there, it's a quote from Zero Waste Scotland, that says over half of what households put into their refuse bins could indeed be recycled using existing recycling services. Do you have any more information on this?
No more information as such from Zero Waste Scotland, but here in Clacks, we see the evidence of contents of the green bins from householders applying for additional green bin capacity, and it's evident that there are lots of recyclable waste, particularly in green bins within Clacks, where residents perhaps think they're recycling everything that they can, but clearly they're not for whatever reason. There are lots of recyclable waste being placed in the green bins.
How do we improve the recycling rates and I suppose educate people on what does go in the recyclable bins and what goes in the kind of residual waste bin?
One way of prompting the necessary behavioural change is to restrict residual waste capacity. That's been proven across the UK. It does work. It prompts people into thinking every time they visit their bins about which bin a particular type of waste needs to be placed in each bin. And yeah, it's that restriction of residual capacity. If they have an excess of surplus or a generous residual waste bin capacity, evidence shows that then they're not as incentivised to recycle strongly as they might otherwise be, disappointingly, and that is borne out by the evidence here in Clacks when we're looking at applications from residents for additional green bin capacity.
There's also the whole heap of activity that we've got planned to go and engage on a more general level in terms of mass communication, leaflets and media, social media items, but also going out on visiting community events and working with communities and working with schools to get the messages out. As I set out in the paper as well, we are anticipating that some people are going to struggle. It's a change, and some people are going to have difficulty adapting to that. And so we will be putting in a range of supports. And where we see evidence, correctly motivated, where we see evidence people have not been able to manage them, we will be going in and do direct communication in terms of that explaining, making sure people are absolutely clear about what needs to go where, and it's just simple tips like compressing cardboard, compressing plastic bottles, things like that.
Thanks, Kate. In 3.8, it says there are financial implications of not reducing the amount of residual waste sent for disposal. Have you got more details on what these financial implications are?
We set out in the previous paper the costs of the contracts for our external waste, for residual waste. More and more it's requiring additional treatments. Also, there's tax penalties that we need to pay on our residual waste. So it's imperative that we reduce our residual waste as much as possible from the financial point of view, as well as from climate change point of view. I don't know if you've got anything you want to add.
No, I don't think so.
In 3.9, there's a statement that says residents expect changes to improve recycling performance. Do we have evidence to back up that statement?
We have quite a good strong relationship with communities, as we say, and get constant feedback to the collections. Also, there is some waste recycling centre. It's the continuing demand for making sure that the waste can be separated. So the public, we have quite a strong demand from the public to show that we can separate all streams of waste. We also get it from the local community groups. So we've got local community groups like Bright Spark that come recycle bikes. We've got Recycle Bike. There's a whole value now, a value chain in the local community for the waste, and we've seen huge amounts of investment in the recycling centre along those lines. And there's a big demand now that we have interactions with residents at our forums and community councils as well. What's happening with waste? What's the next change in the waste agenda? There's a big consideration of climate change, net zero, and the public are quite educated on this now. They're actually really well advanced on this now through what's happening in local media, and they see the investment that's being made at the recycling centre, which is a really visual impact, and we have really good feedback on that.
I think as well, that's been mentioned that the local climate change for the environment, we could look at feeding back specifically on those issues.
That's great, thanks. I want to kind of move on to the financial details in section 7 there. We have received funding of 583,890 from Zero Waste Scotland to purchase new bins required for the recycling. Can you confirm for me whether this funding is tied to the approval of any particular option in the papers, please?
The fundraising is an upward grant this month in time. It's not been committed to us. There's an expectation from Zero Waste Scotland that we would reach a decision in time to confirm and take up the offer of grants on the 23rd. The grant has been based on, it's been modelled on the option 3. We have had some initial conversations with Zero Waste Scotland regarding whether it will still be available for option 2, and there's an indication that that might be the case, but nothing has been confirmed, so we'll still have to do some field works to confirm whether it would be available for option 2 or option 3.
My understanding was that the application for funding was submitted based on the details of option 3. So we made an application saying that to get this funding, we would reduce residual waste collection to every 4 weeks. We would increase recycling, that's what the bins are for, and we would reduce our carbon targets by the amount that's set out in the report. Is that the case?
So the bid was done in conjunction with Zero Waste Scotland, the same people that actually worked on the supported us with the options appraisal. So the process was based upon the preferred option. However, there were some early indicative conversations just yesterday, which said that there may be a possibility that it would apply for option 2 as well, but we can't confirm that. We have to wait until we get that properly confirmed.
The other question I've got is in relation to 7.3. We've said Zero Waste Scotland require confirmation that the council will accept the funding and progress with its plans by the 23rd of May. So for me, that says we're not going to say to Zero Waste Scotland, we'll approve the policy, we're moving forward, we're accepting the funding by the 23rd of May. What happens if we don't do that?
So the bid was approved in March, and we've been holding that for some time. We're one of few, or perhaps some of the council where they've agreed to provide funding where there isn't already a council decision. So there's an expectation that we want to see progress, and if the progress isn't being made, then we may withdraw that from. So at this moment in time, we have asked the question, still waiting to hear back on whether that's so we're unable to say what the impact would be on the deferral.
So just to clarify, we don't know, so there is a risk that if we do not make a decision on this today on either option, that we could lose the funding, and we don't know whether the funding is tied to any particular option.
I think there's that risk exists.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Quinn.
Few questions. What about flats where the country have, shared bins, don't have like individual ones, but then is there going to be an additional kind of larger bin for recyclable materials?
Yes, an additional bin will be provided for separate recycling of paper card to supplement the existing blue bin, which would then in turn be for recycling of plastics, cans and cans only.
Excellent, thanks very much. And you mentioned in the paper about using the boxes that there's a health and safety risk. Given that we use boxes before, do we have any figures about the potential risk and what the impact that would have?
We don't have figures as such, but in terms of the health and safety risk, with bins, you're talking about pushing and pulling of a container on wheels at waist height. With boxes, you're talking about bending down to ground level, lifting, carrying, and that process does increase risk of musculoskeletal injuries for staff. So that's a potential increased risk. And that's following consultation with one of our Northern Health and Safety advisors. In their view, the use of boxes does increase the safety risks for staff.
I just wondering about on that. Couple of questions. One is about people that have smaller bins. Remember, I was speaking to one person who was trying for a while to get a smaller bin, to go out, get it. So, people live on the road, the green bin, some people have smaller bins. Is that going to be encouraged in any way, or is that going to be enforced? If people are living on the road, that they won't have to stay inside bins, people that are, family with 3, 4 people or whatever.
Nothing can be forced on anybody. If a single person household, for example, wanted smaller grey bin, they'd be allowed to have a smaller grey bin. If they wanted to downsize the full suite of bins, equally we would enable that.
Okay, last question, just put in the calls, I know a little bit of this hasn't been all developed yet, but are we going to take into account any kind of like the legal kind of strategies, like kind of nudging things like that into approach, or are we already make a nice leaflet, look like look at that, and are we going to take like the evidence-based approach and kind of, the kind of way we design the leaflet, follow on the way we deliver it, things like that, to try and, or do we have any expert who will take advice from in that area? Thank you.
We do have a draft comms strategy in place, which has been developed in conjunction with the corporate communications team. The majority of the communication in terms of material delivered direct to households is based on Zero Waste Scotland templates. So it's in line with best practice, national guidelines. And then wider than that, yes, we'll be utilising social media and the like to facilitate that behavioural change that we're seeking. And Peter explained earlier the elements of the common strategy in terms of going out there and engaging directly with individual households, community at large. We want to make ourselves accessible to respond to any queries about any household that we're not concerned about.
Thank you very much. Questions?
Thank you, Councillor Lee. Yeah, thanks, Chair. My questions are in 3.6, 3.7. Talking about the